Hey friends, welcome to the Adventures of Blink. I am of course Blink, and I am so glad you've joined me today. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so that we'll stay connected. And of course, you can drop by the blog at any time for more content as well. Last week, we added a special feature to our game, a ball splitter. We have one more feature to add, the ability to save your progress and load it back into the game. First, we'll start by making the screen for saving and loading. This one's going to be unique because it's something we're going to pull in from the operating system instead of building it out ourselves. Okay, so what we're going to do first is create a screen. We're going to come in here and let's do a new thing, and we're going to call this load underscore window.py. And this is going to be the screen that's managed by the operating system. You're familiar with seeing this. It's the load or save dialog where it brings up a little window and lets you search for a folder somewhere on your file system, and then you have the option to select the file or not. And the way this is going to work, it's going to be a form, like we're going to consider the screen to be a form, and it's going to return a single value, which is the path to whatever file it wants to use. Because that's the only thing we really care about here. Which file is it that you've selected? So we're going to start with a build of, we're going to need a couple of imports. So I'm going to pull in sys, and I'm going to import subprocess. Okay, and we're going to make a class and call it file dialog. Okay, and file dialog is going to have two static methods in it. There's going to be, well, actually there may be more than that. There's going to be an open file and there's going to be a save file. So those are sort of the two entry points to the thing. And that's what I meant by there are only two methods. There are two public methods. We're going to have just those two ways to interact with it. Then we'll also have some side methods that will help us build that out. So let's go on ahead and just start with the basics. What we're going to do is, let's see, a static method, and then we're going to do define open file. Okay, now the title equals open file. This is actually going to be the title that's displayed on the window when it pops up. Okay, and then we're going to have file types. And so we're going to set it to all files because we don't necessarily know which files we're looking for. And then we're going to pass in a star.star. Okay, so that's just the definition of open file. Now we're going to do if sys.platform equals Darwin. So if this is a Mac, that's how you tell. So we're going to do a return file dialog dot underscore open file macOS. Okay, and so this is a method that we're going to write. This is going to be, you can see the underscore there in front of it, so it's going to be a private method to this class that we're going to write in just a minute. But what we're going to do is we're going to pass it the title and the file types, because that's going to create a Macintosh window. And it turns out that because of the uniqueness in the Python libraries, we have to actually implement this twice. Once for Linux and Windows, once for Macintosh. And so we're going to use two different ways to make this work. In my experimentation, before I set up the episode, I ran into this bug where I couldn't just do it as a single implementation. I had to do it, different ways for different OSs. So this should take care of that for us. So if it was Darwin, we're going to do that. Else, we're going to do a different private method that we're going to write. So it's going to be open file. We're supposed to underscore that. Open file tk. And it will have the same signature. The wild part about this is we're actually going to make it work the same way in both cases from the perspective of the game programmer. It will work differently behind the scenes, but up front it's going to have the same signature. Okay, so add another static method, and this one is going to be the save file method. So we're going to do save file, and it's going to be effectively the same structure. So we do file there, and we're going to do default extension in this case equals empty, and we're going to do file types, and this will also be all files, and we do the same star.star, and then a comma there, and we're good. Except we're not good. Why is this not good? Oh, this is supposed to be an equals. That will fix that. Okay. There we go. Helps if you put all the characters in the line. sys.platform equals Darwin. The same way we did on the open file dialog, we're going to do on the save. So we're going to do return file dialog save file macOS title file types, else return file dialog dot save file tk, title default extension file types. Okay, that takes care of that. Now, the next thing we're going to do is implement the Mac OS version of this. So we'll create the static method, and we're going to do, let's see here, save. We'll do open first. So we'll do define underscore open file macOS. And we're passing in the title and the file types. So the first thing we're going to do is set up extensions. We're going to grab a variable to hold them. And we're going to need to do an extract extensions. So this doesn't exist. We're going to need to write it, but we're going to set this aside for a little bit later. So now we've made a list of extensions. If there's anything in the list, we're going to join each one of them. There. So what I want to have is a comma delimited list of the extensions. I'm taking it from an array into a comma separated string. Script equals f, oops, there we go, set chosen file to choose file with prompt There we go. Now, our script is going to change a little bit if we don't have the extensions. Set chosen file to choose file with prompt title there. So we're writing a little Mac script here that's going to take care of getting the file dialog set up. We hide all of this behind the Mac doing its work. That's one of the cool parts about this is we're actually dropping right out of Python, and we're building this script in something that's absolutely not Python and letting Python just take care of the running of it. So we can do a result equals subprocess.run. And for this, we're going to do OSA script. We're going to do a -e, and we're going to run the script variable. We're going to capture the output. So we're going to do capture output equals true. And we're going to do text equals true. Okay. Now, if result.return code is not equal to 0, we're going to return none. That's going to be really important for us because you can go to this file dialog, but it has a cancel button. So what happens if you don't actually choose a file? Your goal was to go here and choose a file, but you might get there and go, you know what? I don't really want to do this. Let me hit cancel. I need to make sure that I'm handling that in my code. So I want to catch the return code and find out if it was successful at choosing something or not. So if the return code is not 0, then I'm going to return none. So anything that went wrong, anything that went weird, I'm just returning a none from this. Otherwise, I'm going to return a result.standardout.strip. And so then I'm going to take whatever it gave me back and strip off any white space characters, and this should be the path to the file that's been chosen. So that takes care of the Mac version of this. The next thing we're going to do is the save file for Mac OS. And we're going to do this very much the same way. We're going to do save file Mac OS title file, not fail, file types. Brain gets ahead of the fingers sometimes and you end up with weird words. Okay, script equals, let's build out our Apple script here. We're going to do set chosen file to choose file name with prompt title. Stop auto-completing. I'm trying to type here. POSIX path of chosen file. Okay. Now the result equals subprocess.run, just like it did for the other one. And we're going to do OSA script -e script capture output will be true again, and text will be true again. Okay. Now, if the result.return code is not equal to 0, return none. So same kind of thing. If we go to the save dialog and then cancel, then we don't want to take any action because we're not actually giving them a file name to save things to. All right, and then we're going to return result.standardout.strip again. So whatever file they've selected to save things as, we're going to return that, and the path comes back the same way as it did on the load. All right, so that's the way we're going to handle the Mac version. Let's talk about the Windows version. It's going to be done using the tkinter library from within Python. So we're going to do a static method, and we're going to do open file tk. That's what the tk was for. Title file types. Okay, import tkinter as tk from their import file dialog. So it's pre-built into the library to be able to grab a file dialog. And this was sort of my preferred method for doing this. I really don't want to drop to subprocess. Unfortunately, the Mac just does not work with this library. The dialog does not appear, and I think it had something to do with the fact that I'm already in a Pygame space, and then I'm trying to switch to a different window manager to do this. Pygame does not offer a file dialog in this way, so I needed to go find something because I didn't want to have to build the whole thing myself. So root.withdraw. The good news about using this kind of dependency is that the library is actually already built in, like it's delivered with Python, so you're not having to go pull this from someplace else. It's going to be right there and available already. So let's see, root.attributes, and we're going to do the topmost, and we're going to set this to true. So this should take over the window display whenever it's created. Path equals file dialog dot ask open file name. You have a few options there. You can definitely experiment and figure out if there's something you wanted to use that would be a little different. But out of the gate, this is the one that does the thing that we need. So that's what we're building with today. File types gets passed in, and let's see, we're going to do a root.destroy. So after we've done the file dialog, we have to clean up after ourselves. Return path or none. So same arrangement. If the path comes back and doesn't have anything in it, then we're going to return a none to make sure that we're not just giving them an empty string. We try to make a distinction between the user has canceled and the user picked a blank string. I don't know why you would want that, but just in case something weird happens. So that's what we're going for. We either expect to see a full path to the file, or we expect to get a none. All right, that takes care of the open file. So I'm going to make another static method, and it's going to be for the save file version. So now we do save file tk, and we'll follow the same default extension, file types, import from their import file dialog, root equals tk dot tk root.withdrawal. Root.attributes. And we want this to be the topmost, just like the other was. We need to do a path equals file dialog dot ask save as file name. Title equals title. Default extension equals default extension. File types equals file types. Once we've done that, then we're going to do the root destroy again and the same return path or none. All right, now we've got one method left to write in this. And this was the one from before where we wanted to have an extract extensions. So the way we're going to do that is extract extensions. And we're passing in a list of file types. Extensions, this is going to be our return value. So we'll do an empty array, and we're going to do 4. We don't care about the first value, but we do want to see the pattern in the file types. Parts equals pattern.split for part in parts. If part dot starts with star dot extensions dot append part dot replace star dot with an empty string. And then we want to come back up to here and return extensions. There. So we're effectively getting a list of file extensions which are separated by spaces, and we're looking through each one of them to see if it starts with the star. And if it's got a star dot at the beginning, then we're going to eliminate that and just use the tail of the extension. So instead of it saying like star.txt, it's going to say just txt. We want to go through a whole array of these and make sure that we bring them all back together as a list. So that's the reason for all of the vigorous hand waving around file extensions. Okay, so now that we have a save and a load window, let's go make them callable from our game window. So in order to build this into the game window, we're going to need to find the place where we're checking for keyboard inputs. And so this is going to be, I believe, at the top of the run method. Yes. You can see here, while running for event equal, or for event in pygame.event.get, we're looking for a mouse button up. So this tells us that the game is beginning, right? That was the click that we did in order to start the ball actually, giving it velocity and kicking off the game. But what we're going to do is add in a different type of event to check for here. So what we want is to detect a key. Okay, so here in the run method, we're currently checking for a mouse button up. which that's our click event that starts the game. It gives the ball velocity and actually makes the gameplay begin. But we're going to add in a new event right up here at the top of this. And this time we're going to check for a key on the keyboard. So if event.type equals pygame.key up. So we're checking for the key coming up. In the same way we waited for the click to come up, the mouse button to come up, we're going to wait for the key to come up. And if the event key equals pygame dot, and what you do is you do a k underscore and then what key you want to use. So in the case of saving, which is the first thing, like this is what we're going to do from within the gameplay, right? So in here we want the S button. So as you're playing, you're using the mouse to move the paddle back and forth, and you say, I want to save my game. You can press the S button and it will save the game. And so we're going to do that. Running equals self.save. Now this is a nifty trick. We're going to let the save method that we write update the running variable. And this way the game will end if you successfully save the... All right, so this is a nifty little trick that we're throwing in here. We're letting our save method that we're going to write update the running variable. And here's why. If I save the game, I might want to keep playing. And so I can just kind of make that keep rolling. So I'll return a true. But what if I decide that I'm going to make the save button actually cause a quit? And that kind of makes sense if you think about it. Why else would you click save? You click save and then you're like, okay, I'm done playing. I'm going to go do something else now. So I'm expecting this to mean save and quit. And I just stumbled over that. So let me try it again. All right, so this is a nifty little trick. What we're going to do is write a save method, but the save method is going to return a value that updates our running variable. And this way we can actually cause the game to quit by saving. So that's the idea, is that this is a save and quit. You're going to press the S button to save the game. And when you do that, you choose your file and you hit save and it saves it successfully. The next thing it's going to do is return a false so that it kicks you out of the game and it'll take you back to the main menu. However, if you hit cancel on the save dialog, then we're going to return the true and let the game continue, because the idea was I hit save and then I go, you know what, I want to keep playing. And so I hit cancel on the save and then I go right back into the game. So let's go on ahead and go write our save method now. What we're going to do is just plug this in directly above the run. Define save. Save is not going to take any parameters. It's just a straight up, we're calling this method and it has nothing to go along for the ride. However, it does get to use all the class variables, so we can call the debug and we're going to log a save here just so that we know we've done it. Then we're going to create a file dialog. Now that was the class that we built in our other things. So you notice it's not actually working here. What we need to do is come up here to the top and do a from screens dot load window import file dialog. So we're going to pull that class in. And now if I come back here to my save, I can finish writing it. So after that, I'm going to do a path, because the file dialog should give me back a path, remember? So I'm going to do save file. And I have to pass in the title, which is going to be save game. And then I'm going to do default extension. And for this, I'm just going to make up an extension. So I'm going to do a .save. And .save files are the files that I save my game in. They're actually going to be just plain text. You could do something like encoded or encrypted or something if you really wanted to be safe about it, if you didn't want people cheating at your game. In this case, we're just holding on to progress, and it really doesn't matter. We're not even scoring anything, so what's the point? File types equals, so we're going to have a list, and in this list we do save files, and they are star.save, and then there will be another one that is all files. So these are the options on the dialog that you can choose from. You can either set it to look for all the files, or you can set it to just look for the ones that are .save files. Now, the next thing we do is check to see if that path came back with anything. This is the, did they hit cancel and I got a none, or did they give me back a path? So if path is going to find out if it's not none. Print save game to, and we're going to pass in the path. And you know what? That's a print. I should probably do that differently. Let's do that as a log. And this might be an info level log. And I'm going to do this as an F string. So I can put those there. And now I'll get a log message that says where the file is being saved to. All right, so with open path for write, we use a W as F. So we have a file, we're just calling it F, because this is like a one-liner section here. So the F is only in scope for this one line. So we do a .write, and we want to pass the string value of self.current level. Now, I'm being very simplistic in this. My save file is literally just going to save whatever level I saved on, which means that every time I load, the only thing I really have is to start over. I could, if I had more time, actually save out the game state. And so I would put out like which bricks have already been cleared, which bricks remain, save the data in some way that allows you to start the game back. I could get super detailed and even try to do something like, here's how many balls were on the screen and here's their current velocities and directions and all that stuff. I'm going to be just extremely simple. I'm saving what level we're on. Go have some fun with it. Go build something that's more detailed. I'd love to see how you do it. All right, so after the file has been written to, we are returning false. This is what we talked about, that we're returning false because we want to kick ourselves out of the game. So we save, and that causes us to quit back to the main menu. Okay, now the else we have to take care of here. And so what we're going to do is self.logger.debug, and we're going to say user canceled save. And that way we know what happened, why we're returning back into the game. Okay? And that should take care of our save function. Now let's go make the load game menu option work on the main menu. So before we build the main menu feature, we're going to come up here and actually write our load method. So we're going to put it right up here, and we'll do define load game. All right, load game doesn't take any parameters. And all we're going to do is fd equals file dialog again. Now, just like in the other file, I have to come up here and we're going to add from screens.loadWindow import file dialog. And that will cause that to start working properly. Good. Now we're going to do path equals fd.openFile. And we're going to do title equals load game. File types equals save files. So just like we did on the save dialog, we're going to add in the option to restrict the page to show just the .saves. Or we're going to have all files. And that'll be star.star. All right, now we're going to do data equals none. This is the save data variable. So in this case, we're only pulling back one value, but you know, your mileage may vary. So if you're pulling back the rest of the file, you can suck it all into one data object and then parse it. Let's see here. So first, I need to know whether the path was actually valid. So did they hit cancel or did they hit load? So we're going to with open path, and in this case we're reading from it. And I'm going to go on ahead and do this. Okay, as f. Data equals f.read. So we know that our save file is only going to have one value in it. So we're pulling it back and we're going to just assume that it's all in one shot. Again, your mileage may vary if you're doing something customized to try to make this, you know, spiffier than what I'm doing. But I'm going to give you the basics today. All right, so the next thing we do is we say that the number, because this is the number we're actually going to pass back. So load game is going to return just a number which tells what level we're going to. So I'm going to start off with it being none. And the reason that I'm doing that is because if there's data in the variable that was read from the file, I have to do some casting to make this work. It's a string coming out of there. And so I need to do number equals int data. I need to turn that quote to quote into a actual digit 2. Now, the thing is that could fail. And so I want to handle my error gracefully. So I'm going to accept a value error here. And then we're going to do, well, what are we going to do with that? I think we can pretty much just pass it. And let's print to the console. Why not? Failed to read file data. There, that's a nice message. All right. Now, if everything worked the way we expect, I should be able to return a number from here. Okay, now let's plug it into our main method. So what we're going to do is roll down here. Let's see. We need to go inside of while game is playing, and we're going to add a variable here that is not return, it's response equals quote quote. Because we need to hold on to this response in the case of the additional thing we're doing. Right now, we kind of use it once and then throw it away, but we actually need to update the variable. So for this, I'm going to say case load logger.debug matched load. All right, so I write that out, and then I'm going to do data equals load game. Now, if data, so even at this point, I could have canceled, and so that's what I'm checking for. This is the, did I actually give that a path, or did I cancel it? So if I got back any data, I'm going to respond, response equals play game screen. And so this kind of matches the response up in the new. If you look up here, I want to follow the same pattern of checking my value. So I'm going to do play game screen, and I'm going to do screen equals screen, config equals config, and data equals data. So that was an optional variable in play game screen. You notice we didn't actually use it above because we were just starting a new game, and so it didn't matter. We knew we were starting at level 1. But in this case, we're passing in the data to say we're starting on a different level, and so that's why we have to grab that there. Now, in addition to that, I also need to do the same check that I did up here. So if when in response, then show win screen, screen config. All right, and that way the load handles it the same way the new did. Okay, so now I've handled it all, but I haven't actually made the main menu option that says load the game. So in order to do that, I need to go back to my menu, and I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember back when we were creating the main menu? We made the menu items a list. And so all we have to do to make this work is come in here and add a new label that says load game, and the action is going to be load. And that's going to work along with our menu selection here, so that when we see load, we're going to come to this case, we're going to run through this set of things, and then that's what kicks us out of our game. Make sure you go make a few levels in your assets/levels folder, and be sure that you number them correctly for the game to pick them up. Remember that we're using level-in.text as the pattern that we're shooting for. Let's go ahead and test it out. We're going to come back here, and I'm going to do source main.py, and I get an error. And this is a really easy one. In fact, it's so easy that the interpreter actually solved it for me. It says, perhaps you forgot a comma. And if I go back here to the menu, I did indeed forget to put a comma on the end of that line. Make sure that when you're doing arrays of things that you separate them with commas. If you forget to put the comma, bad things happen. All right, so let's run this again and let's see what we get. Now our main menu has a load game button, which we can't use yet because we don't have a game to load. So what we're going to have to do is play a new game first. And there goes the ball. And so now I've got my splitter. Oh, and I already lost one of them. And that completes the first level. And you see it's kicked me to the second level already. And so what I'm going to do is just go on ahead and, oh, wow, I actually failed at that. Let me try this again, y'all. All right. There we go. I lost the second ball again. Now, I am on level 2. You can tell this is level 2 because it does not have a ball splitter in it. So I just made one little distinction so you could see that. But before I hit start, let's actually test out our new feature. So I'm going to do save my game, and you can see it pops up a dialog. And so it's asking me what to do with this. I'm going to save it in the breakout folder here where the code is. And I'm just going to do test save. Okay. And that should take care of it. Now, if I hit load game, ooh, I get an error. Okay, so I got an unexpected keyword argument data. And that's because I left out one tiny step from my game window. So we're going to go back to the game window and we're going to go all the way up to the top. In the init function, you'll notice that the only thing we ever do is load level 1. So I'm going to change this line just one minor tweak. And here's how it's going to work. I'm going to change this to load level data if data exists, else self.load level 1. And then I have to come up here and I have to change the function definition to have data equals none. All right, now that way I have brought in the data and I've checked. I said if it's empty, then I'm going to just load level 1. If it's not empty, I'm going to load whatever was in it. So that's how it does the level choice. Now let's rerun this and see how things behave. So now on the load game, I'm still getting an error. Why am I still getting an error? Do you see the problem? It's because my play game screen did not have the data variable in it. So I need to change this to be a data here, and then I need to pass that data along. And in this case, I am pretty sure that I only want, let me think. Yeah, this is going to have a default value of none. There. So if I don't provide it, I'm passing in a none. Otherwise, I'm going to pass in whatever value. So let's try it again. Load the... So after a little bit of digging, I realized what I forgot to do. And you can see it highlighted here on the screen. It's where the cursor is. I'm calling data equals load game, but I'm calling it like it's a variable, not like it's a function. I think that bit me on a previous episode too. I'm apparently not learning from my own mistakes. All right, so now if I hit run, I can load up a game, and you can see I'm in the breakout folder. I have a test save file right here, and so I'm going to choose that. Oh, and it actually loaded right there. So let me try this again. There we go. So we may need to work on that a little bit. There might be some polish to make sure the game doesn't automatically kick itself off. But there you go. I was able to start at level 2 and complete the game. I only have 2 levels built out right now just for test purposes. But there you go. We have the ability now to save a game and to load it back into memory. Okay, now that save and load are working, let's update the repository. Okay, so I'm on my episode 9 branch here. We can see that with there. So I'm on episode 9. What we're going to do is git add dot git commit save and load git push origin episode 9. Okay. Now if I come over here to GitHub, I can see that. Now I can do a pull request. I'm going to push it into main so that I've got it updated in the base branch. My merge is complete. And now we've got it. Merge episode 9 into main, and I still have an episode 9 branch for you to check out. All right, that wraps up today's adventure. Next week, we finish Season 5 by learning to package the code and share it someplace. Remember, like, subscribe, click the notification bell, and of course, stop by the blog. I'll see you next time.